So first of all, I would apply for an expression of interest to NHS England and say that we're proposing to do some work. They have to obviously agree that we've got calls to do the work, and obviously the CCG, which now isn't the CCG, they actually agree, you know, the same. And then once they've all agreed that we have got some expression of interest, we can proceed. So then NHS England send me over what's called a PID, a project initiation document, type 1, which is to have work done on clinical premises, which takes quite a bit of work. And I had several of these to fill in, because you can see here you've got version number. So I put in the first version, and then they might come back and want it tweaked or changed or different things added. So I eventually ended up with 3 PIDs at the end. Right. So I had to get an architect in to obviously do the drawings, because you have to submit drawings. So this is the PID itself, which is several pages long, including costings. You have to have a proposed procurement strategy, all sorts of things. You had to have 3 quotations, obviously, for the work. And the work has to be done on a clinical premises, which is an HBN 0010, which is the spec that is required for a generic consultation room. So the builders have to comply with that in order to get the consultation room started.
Okay.
So you have to have photos before and photos after.
Right.
You had to have, this is still the form, by the way.
Yes.
So this was my sketch before the architect of where the room is, to show the architect what we wanted.
Yeah.
Which obviously wasn't for scale. This is just my drawing. This is the room that we're proposing on part of our reception. So I had to do a drawing. Back to the PID itself, which is an exceedingly long document, why we want to use it, why we feel it's beneficial, and I've enclosed newspaper cuttings here as well to support it, saying about, you know, the new housing that's going up in the area, so we feel that we're justified in having, you know, the work done.
Yep.
They want to know the rent costs, the water costs, the rate costs of the building. Obviously we had the support, as you know, from our PPG.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? This is still all part of the PID. And obviously it has to be signed by my partners. So that was the first one. This was the document that was sent to us in the very beginning, which was from NHS England, which is obviously recommendations how to go about funding. So they send us this, which was just a reading document, which is all about the PID itself and how to, you know, what to send in, etc., which was quite time consuming in itself, trying to read through it all. So I got the quotations. I'm just looking through, this was my copy of the PID. So I got the quotations through.
Okay.
This is all in reverse order, so I apologise. So you can see I've got several PIDs here.
Yeah.
I had to give a scale drawing of the premises, which obviously luckily I had.
Okay, that's great.
What have we got here? I had to give, they're the quotes that we had. I had to give room usage, what we'd be using it for, and what times we'd be using it, how it was supported. These were all the documents that were required. A PID cost estimator, a PID space estimator. There's loads of different parts to this that you had to complete. As I say, it was quite a complex document.
Yep.
Right, what else have I got in here? As I say, it's in reverse order, so I apologise, because obviously the most recent is on the top.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's have a look. No, that's
I believe you also mentioned you did get some help along the way.
Yes, I did. Well, I went back to NHS England, and obviously my architect was very good as well.
Yes.
Because obviously the drawing had to be tweaked. This was part of the drawing, obviously, that he sent across, and then in the end I was the middleman, really. So I put the NHS England, I put them in contact with the architect, and they actually tweaked the drawing themselves, because there were certain things that, as part of this HBN1, which is the clinical spec, they obviously negotiated between them how the room layout would work.
Sounds like a virus, doesn't it?
It was all a bit of a foreign language to me, Ian, as you know. It was, complicated.
Yep.
Right, so where we are. So this is more correspondence that I received. They came back with questions about the design. Does it fit a bed in? These are just, would they be able to quote for ventilation? There has to be certain specification on the ventilation for the room, etc. Let's have a look. So I had to do a room schedule, when the room would be used and how it would be used and by whom. What else have we got in here? More quotes for various different works, ventilation unit, as I say, and here we are as a PID again. So this is version number 2.
Right.
We had to go through it again with revisions of different things they wanted, and then they wanted a lot more information really on usage and why we felt the room was necessary. They want our obviously our practice list size.
Yes. But that's 22,000 at present,
It
which is growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the new housing, it's forever growing. So, I mean, this was just a very small room. I mean, we'd like to do some more work, but what you have to actually do, jump through these hoops to actually get there, is complicated.
Because this is Section 106 money that was actually taken from the development to facilitate improvements to surgeries within the area.
Yep. So this was, you have to have a before photo. So this was the before photo.
Yep.
Obviously we've got to have photos now the work's been done to show that obviously, we've got it be done. This was my room plan and, what was going on day by day in each room so that we could justify the need of having another room.
Yep. Is the room finished?
Yes, I'll show you the room in a moment.
I'll put that on here as well
absolutely.
as a matter of record.
These are just more quotes for the work because you have to have 3 different quotes. And then obviously there are things like clinical things you need, like curtains in the room. We had to have a specialised sink in the room, and you have to provide quotes for everything, including examination light, everything. There's no fund that you can just say equipment. You have to itemise everything. So there's a couch, there's a desk, there's a chair, there's an examination light, there's a hand sanitizer, it's just, the list is endless.
It seems to go on and on, doesn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah. Sorry, this is just numerous paperwork that came through and different questions. All along they're asking different questions.
As an estimate, Sally, how long would you say that this process has taken?
Well, I applied in November, I think. Was it? Well, I'll tell you exactly when I applied because the date's on here. So this was, let's have a look, when I first started, in the very beginning. Trying to find, that's not a very good document because that's my copy. Let me go back to the very beginning. Try and find something with a date on would be useful. Let's go back and back and back. So I started getting the quotes for the work, and that was in October 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
How many hours would you estimate that you have actually spent before you got the money in to do the work?
Well, I got the go-ahead in December to actually start the work, in November, December time. And we've just proceeded.
And that is 2021.
2021. The work itself didn't take long at all. It's already completed. Way too long. Hours and hours. I ended up, I didn't have time in my surgery time to do it. I had to take it home and do it, and I was having online meetings with people. All sorts. Just, I can't give you a time specification. It's just ongoing. You
hundreds and hundreds of hours.
You submit the PID, and then obviously it's reviewed. You have to have an architect in, that's the initial steps. Then the PID's reviewed, and then they come back to you, and then you have to supply further details. So hence, there's a version 2 of the PID has to be resubmitted. Plus there's drawings of the building, hours, the room usage, It's just very complicated, the paperwork. As you can see, it's a
Yes.
simple room,
Yes.
but this is the work.
Can I just ask you then, as someone who's actually gone through this process, are there ways that you feel that it could be improved? What would you say to somebody who is trying to change the system around?
Well, for a start, having to itemise equipment and things, I think there should be perhaps a sum of money that you could just say, this is for equipment. I mean, by all means, you'd want to see some costings so we could itemise them out. But we had to sort of get different prices for a couch, a desk, a chair. If there was a pot of money for the room itself and then a pot of money for equipment to supply the room itself, it makes sense, because every clinical room needs a couch and examination. Like, there's standard fixtures and fittings in every single clinical room.
Okay.
So it'd be a lot easier to have, something within the PID itself to say, that the equipment for that room would be incorporated in it, rather than having to itemise everything out. Would have saved a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
But the PID itself, it's just a very complicated document. Unless you're an architect or someone who understands the document itself, it's quite complicated, and the language isn't great either. I know we have a lot of shortened terms,
acronyms,
yeah, exactly,
yeah,
which was very difficult. You'd have to look at the PID itself and see, the actual information that's required. But it is very, very complicated. They want the room usage and everything. We're a surgery, we're a large surgery, and we're actually overrun with patients and lack of space. That is plainly obvious for everybody to see. But to submit a room plan, for instance, of who uses what room for how many hours a day, etc., it's just crazy. We need the room. The room is going to be used. I can't tell you, the doctors are pushing me now to get the room ready, fit for purpose.
Okay.
And although it's finished, the equipment isn't in it. And
so it's still not in it?
The equipment we're waiting for. Obviously I need a data port put in for the computer. That has to go in. That was part of the PID as well. I needed a separate price to get the communications put in, so we need a phone, a data point for the computer. That all has to be incorporated as part of the PID. As I say, there's so many different elements. There's the room itself, and then there's the electrical requirements as part of this HBN1, which is the data point, the phone, and then the equipment on top. So
no, that is a lot of work.
This is all the work for. I will show you the room itself in a moment, and it's just a simple. Even the builder said it took him. He did it out of hours for us, which was fantastic for us, because it didn't mess around with our daily working.
That's
plan.
A considerable file.
Yeah, for one simple room, this was it. And as I say, the builders, it took them 2 weeks to do.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Okay, let's wander down.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the video going as we go.
Absolutely. I'll go downstairs. Also, there's signage, so we've got to have signage put up now to enable patients to actually find the room. Which, there's so many different things to consider.
Yep. Okay.
But it is a lovely, lovely room. We'll see when we get there. For a consulting room,
It's first class.
Yeah. You have to appreciate there's no signage or anything.
No.
It's literally an empty room. But
oh, this is it.
Yeah.
But oh wow,
It is a fantastic room. The lighting is superb.
Yeah.
Obviously it's very echoey, so you can appreciate that. But we've got the proper size sink with the elbow taps,
Yes.
which is all part of the recommendation.
Yeah.
We've got to have the window obviously frosted over.
Yeah.
You can see it's a standard room. Obviously it's got infection control flooring.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it can be sprayed out.
Yeah, but we're waiting for a data point and we're waiting for a phone point to be put in. But it's just a fantastic space. So we just want to get it equipped and get it using now. It'll be great. The clinicians love it.
No, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sally, for showing me around and going through it. I shall pass this on and make sure that the people who need to see this actually understand what a practice manager will need to do, because a lot of them don't know how to get
you
and how
can't-
to obtain
I
that
must
money.
stress, Ian, it is a lot of work to do on top of running a practice.
Yep.
Hence, I had to do it at home, but I was warned it was a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, and it can deter people from applying for the money.
Yep.
So,